Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing? It is so good to see you. Oh my good God. It is Tuesday morning. So we know what that means. It means it is time to tell some stories. I am so excited to be here. It feels like I haven't been here in over a year and it's only been 1 week. Wow. My name is Zoe Baraka, and of course, the show is To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from our past that will propel us into the future. Listen, when you come in, do me a favor, like we always do, go into the comment section and announce yourself. Please let me know you're here so we can greet you properly. I'm very excited today because we have some millionaires in the house, billionaires, and some, I gave him this word, a technocrat, and all kinds of other things. So let's go ahead and, greet each other in our normal, everyday languages from all over Africa. And, let's feel welcome. Let's feel welcome. Before we do that, though, let me say good morning to Big Sister Elsie, one of our producers. Actually, yeah. Big sis, we love you. Thank you so much for logging in all the way from Canada. I see you. I see you. Thank you so much. All right, let us do this. Where are you calling me from? I always like to say calling. It feels like a whatchamacall that, like a radio show, right? Doesn't it? Let's see what's going on with this our thing here. Ella to you if you are in Burkina Faso today, my Burkina Bay brothers and sisters. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. If you speak Moshi, I just greeted you. Ibio kibari to you. Baraka da zua, sanunku da zua, ya de ya kakwana lafia. I hope you slept well. I am so glad you're here. I just greeted you in one of the oldest languages in the world, the Hausa language. Thank you so much for joining us. Ya ken for tuma, for tuawela, tuma awela, te pose winam baraka. We thank you so much for joining us. I just greeted you in Kusal and Mampruli from the northern parts of Ghana. Like the Frafres will say, they're just saying, how are you doing? Or how is it going? Or what's up? Ansuma, the Wales will say, Ansuma Hogange Songo, the Garis will say, and of course, Dasuba to you if you speak Dagomba. I greet you, I greet you, I greet you. Indina, Wezo, Lo, Wezo. If you speak Ewe, my friend says it's Ewe. I'm going to try to get that. If you're in the Volta region of Ghana or if you speak Ewe, I just greeted you. I just welcomed you into the show. Thank you so much. Oje Ko to our Ghana speaking friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Ekaro to you. And of course, Ekabo, if you speak Yoruba, Otutuo Mao, welcome. Nabato from the Igbo people, and Messiere, and Emedio to you if you speak the Ibibio dialect. Thank you so much for joining us at Tisane Akwaba. We greet you. How did you sleep? Someone should please teach me how to say, how did you sleep in Chi? I am so glad you're here. Nyamisha Obibre, thank you for joining us. Karibu sana. Habari gani? Habari yao suboy to you. If you speak Swahili, Oyaure to you from the Luos of Kenya. Murembe to you, also from Kenya. Thank you for joining us. Awana from the Mendes of Sierra Leone. I am so glad you're here. Mangwanani to you. Makati to you. All from the Shona people of Zimbabwe. Of course, Linjani to you. The Ndebeles of Zimbabwe will say, Naga Def to you if you speak Wolof all the way in Senegal. We're so glad you're here. Thank you. Nyasi, Aloy, Domilaki, the Bisa people of course, Burkina Faso and Ghana will say thank you so much for joining us. Kotong and Amohelang to you if you speak Sesotho. Thank you so much. The people of Botswana, we see you. We're so glad you're here. Akei, our Creole brothers and sisters who say now mai to you if you speak Maori, of course, Welena from the Hawaiians. We are so glad you're here. Dumela from the people of South Africa, especially those in the Soto area. We are so glad you're here. here. Sawa to you. The Zulus will say jumbo. I like to say jumbo. It just gives me a kick. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Kotoli'i to you if you speak Fulani. I am so thankful you're here. Bonjour, guten morgen. You all know all these languages. Bonjour is what? French. I just said good morning to you. Guten morgen if you speak German. Thank you so much for joining us, our German friends. Buongiorno, the Italians. We are so glad you're here. Dobroyo otro to you if you speak if you speak Russian, not speak Russia, because, you have to live there. Bom dia to you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you speak Portuguese, of course, buenos dias and welcome. Welcome, welcome. We are so thankful that you're here. All right, let me go ahead and introduce our guest. I see you, Juliet. Thank you for joining us. Audrey, thank you for joining us. Of course, Beverly, you are amazing. One of our top fans, both of them, Audrey and of course, Beverly. I am so grateful that you guys are here. So our next guest storyteller is a powerhouse. When I read his bio, I kind of had to go sit in a corner a little bit and kind of rethink about my life a little bit and also wonder, how old is this person? He absolutely cannot be a day over 35. How has he achieved all of this? And so I said, I cannot read all of this. It's a lot. It's a lot. I am going to put a little blurb up on the To My Younger Self page on Facebook. And so that's what we did yesterday. We tried to introduce him. And that is like a little slice, a slither of some of his achievements. So what I want you to do is go into the page later, read up about our next guest storyteller. And so, I told him, can you give me a shorter, very, very short, and he came back with, like one-liner. So I'm going to try to pick and choose from his very extensive bio. Our next storyteller is Richard Osei-Anim. Richard has an eclectic background ranging from insurance and risk management, corporate finance, early stage ventures, academia, is that how to say that word? Someone help me. Oil and gas, and now EdTech. EdTech is education technology. Richard runs a firm currently deploying EdTech solutions across Africa. He has lectured in so many universities. GIMPA is Ghana's premier management school. He has lectured at GIMPA. Let me tell you, to lecture at GIMPA is something out of this world, okay? Let me just do a little tongue twister and kind of read a little bit here and there. Richard is currently the chairman and managing partner of Hatchery Positivo BGH, a technology firm with interest in edutech and health solutions based out of Accra, Ghana, a director of LIP Partners Africa and a director of the Center for Executive and Professional Development, London, all best practice strategy and human capital solutions firms with a core business of providing executive professional development and consulting for blue chip clients like Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Ghana Police Service, ARAP-EU. I don't even know what that means. Arab? We'll see. Ghana Cocoa Board, Oxfam, the Nigerian Central Bank, Ogilvy and Mather, I hope I said that right, Ghana Water Company Limited, Gen Trust, Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, and he put Exeterra, meaning there is so much more. In entrepreneurship and innovation space, Richard is a co-founder of the Hatchery and Coral Reef Innovation Labs, which helps early stage ventures with business planning and modeling, investment readiness, and access to finance. You see how I'm twisting my tongue? Let me just bring Richard in just so we can all see this amazing guy. And, first of all, how did he get there? I want his life, don't you? A little bit, just a little bit. Guys, let us do it like we always do. Let's do and give Richard a wonderful, amazing To My Younger Self welcome. Say welcome to him. Richard, you are most welcome. 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 Oh,
Thank
my
you.
God.
I was wondering who you were talking about when you
Are
were
you
going
sure?
through all this.
And I did not read everything. That's my problem.
You were struggling with the Ewe. Yes, it's Sugakofa or
Uh-huh.
Jelukofa
Uh-huh.
or Aflau. Yeah,
Afla.
so
And I
Aflau.
lived there for a minute too.
Interesting. Thank you
Yes,
for having me.
you are so welcome. My dear Richard, the floor is yours like we always do over here. You drive the show. Over to
Right.
you, sir.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard, and I've got the next 30, 45 minutes with you sharing some insights and my story. Where have I come from? What's been the journey so far, and what am I looking forward to? Um, so let me start from 19 years after my A levels. I was one of those what in Ghana we call two note boys who decided to go explore England. I was actually supposed to be going for 3 months. My A level results come, and I'm like, nah, let me find something to do over here. So I actually started working and saving for college, and it's typical for lots of my contemporaries at that time. You either ended up in England or in the US, and you sort of explored work.
Mm.
Um, my first winter, I rented a space where the landlord during winter lowered the thermostat of the heater
Yes, that is
and,
wicked.
and went off to Jamaica for holidays. Came back about 2, 3 weeks later. In fact, that was one of my most miserable times in England. But in that ray of depression and so on, um, somebody knocks on my door from the local church in the area, UPG Ministries, Edmonton Temple, and I'll never forget this. Roland, his name was. And Roland is well, dude. I mean, come on, let's go to church. I'm like, Charlie, the church chicks did there or what? What?
We need the chicks.
So my first inclination was like, what exactly is on offer? Yeah. So young student, but I went to that church. I served for 15 years. I started off as a cleaner. I worked in the protocol ministry. I sang in the choir. Believe it or not, I have a fantastic voice.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I can tell you, we can
even if
ask
I
you to
say,
sing.
even if I
That's
say it
careful.
myself, I was a tenor in the choir for many years. So, by the church, I'm bringing in the church because that is where, um, like most immigrants, you find family. It represents a social dynamic where young people that have gone to a place where you don't really have family. That is a network where you get to find jobs, you get referrals. Yeah. Eventually, I found a chick in church. I married her, and
I love it.
the interesting thing about that is that she really couldn't stand me when she first saw me. She was like, "Who the heck is this guy?" And this true no self, and he can't seem to shut up to. There's this thing about there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Yes.
So I think she just couldn't figure out who this guy was. But yeah, eventually, after met in '97, yes, about maybe 4 or 5 years later, we got married. But let me go back to the church and the impact of the church on my life, and it's probably the same for lots of people that found themselves in those environments.
Yes.
Apart from the jobs and the network you build, that is where I really learned how to lead. So I got to a point where I ran the youth group in Peckham. Um, I ran a youth choir. I ran the men's fellowship. Uh, I ran the business group. That was when I had started uh, working in corporate finance, and pretty much every business plan I was involved in for people in church. I
Mm.
mean, modeling their ideas
Wow.
and helping them raise money. And that group in church was called Tent Makers. And Tent Makers takes after, Paul's
Yes,
profession.
I love that name.
Yeah, Paul's profession. Well, currently in these days, very few ministers of the gospel actually have
Mm-hmm.
side
Jobs.
side gigs or
Side hustles.
side hustles. Yeah, but Paul's side hustle was tent making.
Mm.
So tent makers was a group based in the church of business people, people looking to start businesses, modeling,
Mm-hmm.
raising money, mentoring
Mm-hmm.
mentoring and support for businesses. So I ran that till about 2008
Mm-hmm.
when I left the church and headed back to Ghana after 15 years of living in the UK. So yes, I went to the UK as a 19-year-old boy and came back 15 years later with a wife and a son in tow.
I love that.
Yeah, the church shaped my worldview.
Mm.
Um, yes, I mean, 15 years later, coming back into Ghana and I mean, getting work, getting to work globally.
Mm.
One of the key things you realize is life is not necessarily black or white. There are multiple shades of gray.
Mm.
And how do you get to work with different people from different cultures, different worldviews, different so it's kind of yes, in a charismatic or Christian setting, usually things are this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into the big wide world, you get to experience different cultures and the way people look at things from different angles.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you work in teams, for instance, cross-cultural teams around the globe? So um, church prepared me for leadership.
Mm.
And I've gone on to lead all sorts of groups and projects. I used to run the St. Peter's Old Boys Association. I ran that for about 4 years.
Wow.
So the global association based in Ghana, the US, and the UK. So um, my experience of church is very positive. Yes, I mean any group of people that you come across and try and relate as humans, there are always bound to be issues. This person is bitten me, this person is backstabbed me, this person. And if you really want to see politics, the church
Church.
is a
Yes.
really, what you call it, a strong playground or environment for politics. And it's kind of interesting how you relate to people from that side. So that's my first story. My engagement with church, leaving Ghana, going to the UK, my experiences with the church. Some of the teachings and some of the sort of preaching and so on, as litigious as I can be, will disagree vehemently with the
Mm.
past. I was always considered a troublemaker. So I think they were happy to see the back of me.
Oh no, I highly doubt that. I highly
But
doubt that.
yeah, the kind of you kind of front load your philosophy and values and ethics, morality, and everything in that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So prepares you for So that really was a very important space
Mm.
in my life. 19 years. Yeah, I mean, my mother was like, What are you going to do?"
Wow.
But in one of the jobs that I worked in before university, it was a futon factory, and futons are like mattresses, handmade organic mattresses. And after about 6 months of doing that, I was like, frankly, this is not me. I can't do this. Yes, I'm looking for money, saving towards uni and so on. But so I'm speaking to one of these guys, and these are typically the guys that would have gone through Libya, would have crossed the Mediterranean, gone through what they call the continent, struggled in Holland, and finally arrived in England. I was having this chat with this guy. I remember as clear as yesterday, and the guy was like, why do you want to go to school? I mean, ultimately make money. I'm like, yeah. So why do you want to leave this job and go to school? I was like, frankly, I want to work with my brains,
Mm-hmm.
not brawn. You
Wow.
know, the guy was like, hey, you're insulting me. I'm like, dude. I mean, and funny enough, after a year or two that I left, that company got shut down and they
Wow.
migrated all the jobs to Spain or Portugal or Cyprus, one of those locations. So um, I think one of the things that I always had the back of my mind was, okay, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, if I were to meet my year group or my classmates, somebody says they're a doctor, somebody says they're a lawyer, you, Richard, who would you be? Who would you say
Futon
you are?
maker.
Yeah, I mean, future maker. Come on, I mean, it's not, and it's not for the lack of what do you call it? I think I can absorb any educational material
Yeah.
within reason. So
Right.
it was, but another point to that is that I still have people that I went to England with in 1993 who are still stuck in the same jobs, uh,
Mm.
sort of spaces. So
Wow.
progress or moving on in life really is a personal choice.
Yes.
There's some sort of sacrifices that one needs to
Have
make.
to make.
Some of the jobs I did, if I were in Ghana, I would never do. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, but you move and you my one of the guys I used to work with, he said, Richard, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves.
Wow. That's a
Yeah,
principle right there.
yeah.
Yes.
Look after the
Wow.
pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. So that is my first story. The
Mm.
second thing I want to talk about is serendipity.
Mm.
I
Big
think I took
word.
it on. Yeah,
Wow.
serendipity. Those in church will call it a divine connections and
Mm-hmm.
divine appointments and so on and so forth. So one of the things I've struggled with for many years is not sleeping properly.
Mm.
I'm always I could exist on 2 3 hours of sleep for
Wow.
long periods of time. Yes. So one of those nights or early mornings, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I was sitting behind. I remember a compact computer, that kind of dial-up.
I
What do you
remember
call
those.
that?
Oh my God, with the big
Yes.
behind.
Yes, I don't remember what the browser was, whether it was Netscape or whatever. One of those old.
Netscape. I don't even know what that one is.
That was one of the first browsers that I think Microsoft came out with.
Wow.
So insomnia. I mean, I just jumped on the net and was kind of looking around, and I stumbled on a university, a Durham University, and I was
Mhm.
at the time thinking of, okay, what next for me? Um, Random searches and Durham pops up, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something. I mean, I need to uh, move on and explore different terrains and so on. So I about 2 3 days later, I applied to Durham.
Mm.
I got in. On my way back at the York station, I bought two books. Uh, Anyone Can Do It by the Hashemi siblings, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mm.
By the time I got to King's Cross, I had finished reading the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I had determined in my mind that I wasn't going to work for anybody again.
How
I
long
was
was
going
the
to start
train
my
ride?
from York to King's Cross. Juliet, remind me, what, 3 hours?
Wow.
Yeah, and in my mind, okay, there's always been in embedded in my DNA somewhere or my gene somewhere is a stubborn recalcitrant off the bell curve
Mhm.
kind of guy. I think I missed my calling. I probably should have been a trade unionist or something and be
Ah,
leading
you still can do it. It's never
leading all
too
sorts of
late.
strike action against entities that won't listen to the
It's never
to
too
the
late.
to the worker. But I've always had that rebellious sort of
Mhm.
space. Yeah, so I just after that, I mean, in my mind, I was sitting in traffic, M25. For those that are familiar with with England. M25 is the Europe's largest car park.
Hmm.
You could sit in traffic for God knows how
How long?
long. And at the time I was commuting from for about 2 hours in, 2 hours out.
Hmm.
For most in America, it's on the I-95 or whatever. It's no big
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sitting in traffic daily for about a year and a half, I was just that kind of epiphany
Hmm.
where I'm like, really, this thing that I'm doing for my employer, I really can do it by myself.
So, wow.
What I forgot was my employer has uh, super smart people to do their marketing, to do their business development, to do their human capital operations, finance, and all those things. You start a business and you've got to combine all those things
Hmm.
yourself because
Richard, let me draw you back a little bit if you
okay,
don't, I wanted to, okay, so you were on the train, you read that book,
yeah,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you'd already
yeah,
determined in your mind. So I wanted to, draw you back to the
mhm,
serendipity that might have
yeah,
happened around
yeah.
that era time.
I am getting close to that serendipity point. It was let me deal with this M25 business where I absolutely decided that look, I was going to resign. I mean,
Just the
that
commute.
yeah, that traffic was just killing me. I developed
Oh my,
a backache and
oh
all sorts of
wow.
things. Yeah, so I just went in and resigned. And three key things happened at the same time. I had accepted an application to go what do you call it to Durham Business School. I had resigned, and then I come home and my wife says we are pregnant.
Ish. And hey,
Yeah,
Ayaka.
so three key things happening at the same time. I think I think I was paid about 2 or 3 months of my salary. That was pretty much my startup capital. And when you get into entrepreneurship, there are two models really. Those that will save about a year, 2, 3 years of their salary before they leave, or those that jump into the water and they sink or swim. I figure out where I fall. But I bring Durham in because tagged in an entrepreneurship notes handout that I was reading was I stumbled on a professional network called Academy. That was like the LinkedIn of the time, and that was where I found clients for the new business I started and so on.
Wow.
But on that LinkedIn, the challenges of starting up is that your revenues or whatever doesn't come in immediately. It takes a while for business to grow and so on. So I decided to teach. That's where the teaching came
Mm.
in. So I started teaching at Greenwich Community College. I left because my style of teaching wasn't very postmodern. So I was excluding. I was excluding. If your phone goes off in the class, I exclude you. If you come in late, I exclude you. And then the dean at the time was like, Richard, you can't be excluding people. You just can't do that. You just leave them, let them be. I'm like, look, they're distracted. This was for me, it was uh, a very strict kind of the way we had been brought up in a
Mm.
Ghanaian setting. You dare not mess around in a teacher's class, and I transported that kind of mindset in an environment where education is liberal. And again, Greenwich Community College at the time, I don't know if it's the same now. If people were doing AS levels and the quality of students at the time in a community college were not quite the same as a normal college. So these are challenging students you deal with, and I really couldn't deal with that. But let me switch back to the academy guys.
Mm.
So I meet this guy online called Stephen Hickman. Now I start talking to Stephen. I was like, look, Stephen was teaching at Greenwich University at the time, and I was like, I really would like to teach at Greenwich. I
Mm.
want to teach entrepreneurship and so on. Stephen is like, okay, I'll introduce uh, I'll introduce you to the dean of the business school, Professor Kanis Raja.
Mhm.
Okay, so he introduces me, and I get to invite Professor Raja to lunch. At that time in Greenwich, there was a space. There's a whole what do you call it? cluster of restaurants. You can get Chinese, Thai, whatever, and a struggling startup, whatever. All I could afford was a £5, what do you call it, noodle, Miss Noodle, Miss
Wow.
Noodle with those, what do you call it, for Professor Raja. But you know what? Every month for about 2 years, every month for 2 years, I met Professor Raja for lunch.
Wow.
Every month for 2 years, I met him for lunch. He didn't have a job for me, but every month we met for lunch. In the second year, he calls me and says, Richard, I have an opening for you. Somebody's just leaving. Would you be interested in taking on the second year, final year students in entrepreneurship?
Wow.
I was like, wow, why not? So I jumped to it. The money wasn't that
Mhm.
great, but it was an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to explore. Everything I know about entrepreneurship, the foundations was with Professor Kanis Raja. And interestingly enough, last week, I interviewed him on my podcast, which is
Wow.
coming out sometime next month,
Mhm.
uh, focusing on all sorts of business and lifestyle and well-being and so on. So now another thing is that Stephen Hickman, who introduced me to Professor Raja, I never met face to face. Even though he taught at Greenwich, for some strange reason, every time I tried to find him, I never found. To this day, since 2005, this is about 15, no, 2005, about 2018. My maths is a bit rusty. 17 years since that introduction, I have never seen Stephen Hickman face to face. Next time, I think he's teaching somewhere in Cornwall University or whatever. Sometime,
Wow.
next time I find myself in that part of the world, I'll go find him for a beer. Yeah,
Wow.
never mind. So that's the serendipity
Part of
uh,
it. Yes.
thing I was talking about. Now, Professor Raja, I worked with him for 2 years, and then an opportunity comes for us to do some work in Ghana,
Hmm.
and that was my escape from
Oh,
England. I
some
paid
people.
my dues. I paid my dues to Queen and Country.
Mhm.
So after 15 years in England, I moved to. We won a very interesting project.
Mhm.
We were coming to do the project for 3 days.
Mhm.
As soon as we finished with the top level executive, the C-suite, they were like, "Guys, we like this story. Tell the story to our subordinates." So then we moved on. So a 3-day gig became a 3-year contract,
Wow.
and that was my entry into Ghana. So the company was a cocoa board. It's the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. Revenues about 2 billion. We were working on a project called 1 million tons. So
Mm.
communicating strategy. I mean, if I'm breaking it down, a dummy's guide, the strategy for everybody in the organization to understand, right from the top to the principal clerks. And we worked around Ghana. So many. I mean, probably about 600 to 700 workers went through that program. So here we are on that particular.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah,
So serendipitous though, like the fact that you, again, you know, the LinkedIn idea, the fact that you actually never even met the person that kind of
yeah,
jump started you.
yeah,
That's the most amazing part for me. And the
yeah,
fact that we just have to basically, first of all, ask because
yeah,
you got to talking, you were open to talk to somebody. And it didn't
yeah,
matter whether you knew him or not, you
yeah.
know, and you have not
It's
met him.
yeah. It's a fundamental principle for me. I give everybody an hour of my time, and after an
Wow.
hour, I decide whether I will carry on or charge you for my services.
Wow.
Everybody gets an hour of my time for free. Everybody. Is it the desiderata which says the doll and whatever also have their
Also
story?
have
So
a
then
spirit.
I'll listen to you for an hour.
Desiderata, yes.
Yes, I'll listen to you
My
for an
favorite
hour, and
poem,
after an
yes.
hour. So when I was in oil and gas, I meet this guy who says he's got crude oil to sell to me,
Mhm.
and I asked him what oil it was, and he said avocados. The actual name is focados.
Right. Wow.
So it was a clear indication that this guy didn't know what he was talking about. I think I didn't give him an hour. I think I gave him 10 minutes.
And that was
the
it.
conversation was over. So everybody gets an hour. It's my God-given duty to give everybody an hour of my
Wow,
time.
that's a
After
good
an hour,
principle.
we decide whether we'll proceed or we
Or
won't
not.
proceed. So that's
Wow.
my story on serendipity. It's kind of decent contract that got us into Ghana, helped us explore Ghana, looked at different business models, and here we are 15 years later. My third story is education biased.
Mm.
Again, embedded in my DNA somewhere must be education or academia or whatever. I probably didn't know or realize it until, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. I haven't really been able to adjust to the politics of academia.
Mm.
So I've always been an adjunct lecturer. I'll go in, do my thing, and get out. I just don't want to be involved in the politics.
Mm-hmm.
So it works for me. I can take academics in small doses.
Mm-hmm.
3-4 hours a week is fine.
That's enough. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my grandfather, who we buried last month, was
Oh,
102.
sorry to hear that, but wow,
Yeah.
God bless him.
No, 102. I mean, he's been in the
Wow.
departure lounge for a while. He's been waiting in the departure lounge to disappear for a while.
Wow.
So, but he, in the town or village we're from, Kukrantumi, he founded the school. The school is 70 years. 70 years ago, he founded that school. So, and he was called Teacher Bossman because he used to boss the kids with sweets to get them to school. So 70 years ago, I think we, in our current sort of environment, because of our exposure and whatever, we've taken education for granted. But I kind of sit in, as you know, I travel around rural Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around Ghana at least in the last 3 years, maybe about 5 or 6 times. And
Wow.
I sit in a village and I look at kids walking around half naked, sometimes butt naked. And the question that always runs through my mind is, how are they going to escape from this environment?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can they compete with some students in New York? If you say we are really a global village, these people have not even seen a tablet. Meanwhile, my 2-year-old niece, Tessa in Virginia, at 2 years, is playing with a tablet.
Yes.
It's
So
so I kind of reflect a lot, and it's one of my personal passion.
mm-hmm.
Yes, I've done all sorts of things. You call it eclectic, but I've done also. But education seems to be my sweet spot. It's
Mm-hmm.
sort of I want to make impact in education. So my grandfather was teacher boss. 102 years we buried. He founded the Sacred Heart Catholic Church School. I come from an army of teachers. My mother runs a school.
Is that a secret or the sacred? I want
Sacred Heart.
Okay,
Sacred
sacred.
Heart,
Okay.
yes. My mother runs a school. Before the pandemic, she had pupils, about 400 pupils. After the pandemic,
Wow.
got about 250, whatever. My brother works in that school with me. So education has always been,
In your blood.
been there. I also think is one of the most important and single factor that can lift people out of poverty. There's a definition of education where sometimes people ask whether whether you go through education or education goes through you. Yeah, some of us have had PhDs, and one of my mates is giving a commencement speech or a lecture tomorrow at the University of Ghana, and the guy has more degrees. He has more degrees than a thermometer.
I love that.
You know, the guy has got double or triple PhDs. He's got an MD, MSc, whatever. Like, yes, I mean, but education is one single factor that can lift people out of poverty, and
Yes.
quality education. Yes, access is fantastic. So I'm interested in access. I'm interested in inclusion, and I'm interested in equity. Inclusion for special needs and girls, especially.
Wow.
Especially in the education technology stuff that we do. If you read the stats and everything, girls are still unrepresented across the board. There are special needs students that We would rather have them hide than be in the fore, and it's
Yes.
something that I feel passionate about. So education is very, very important to me. And after 19, yes, I mean, if my grandfather didn't have the sense or wherewithal to take my parents to school, for them to also see sense to take us to school, it's a chain.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of improves every
Every
time,
time, yes.
another generation.
Mhm.
So I had a relatively decent education, but post 19, everything I've had to earn has been I've had to work for. I've always had to work and study.
Mm.
There's never been a time where, in fact, Durham Business School nearly took me to court for my inability to pay my fees and
Oh,
filed
wow.
bankruptcy charges against me. Yeah, but that wasn't. That's interesting. That was about £5,000 or £6,000 at the time. I think I had done some work and classic clients not paying on time. Uh, but as God will have it, a day before judgment or whatever, my funds came through and I paid them. I was like, oh, so many people.
Serendipity again.
I was like,
Wow.
HAPPY, shame. So I've always had to work.
Wow.
I worked as a postman, whether there was a rain, sleet, or snow. Yeah, I mean, 13.5 kg bag behind me, and then moving a trolley on the streets of Muswell Hill, East Finchley.
Wow.
It's an interesting experience. Finish and jump onto a bus, and go for lectures. Leave at 4:30 ish and jump on another bus. Go and do 5 to 10.
Hmm.
So education was. I had to get a degree.
Wow.
It's just something that I had to do.
You just had to do.
So
Wow.
yeah, that is education for me, and um, it's kind of interesting the opportunities people have to get education where they don't. I had friends that had British passports that could actually attend school for free,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, they were playing the buffoonery.
Wow.
Yeah, I had friends whose parents bought them apartments and houses and paid fees
Mm.
and still couldn't make the cuts. So again, opportunity favors the prepared mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so that's my education. The last thing I want to talk about is my challenge or it's kind of a personal, it's a lot more challenging for me.
Mm.
It's my struggle with diabetes.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that you get, everybody, I understand from the scientists, has some sort of an underlying illness or disease or whatever. One of the things that triggers most diseases is stress.
Mm.
Yeah. So I remember in 2006, that probably was one of our most stressful years as a business. One of the side gigs I was running was importing pineapples in containers from Ghana to the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, average revenue on that was about £20,000. I'm one of my buyers, this Egyptian guy called Gabriel. Uh, I mean, he epitomizes shyster. I mean, the guy
Oh,
was a Shylock rather.
he
The
was
guy
a
was just,
Shylock. Yeah,
yeah,
he just needed
yeah.
to.
And
Wow.
one cargo that came, we got into an argument about the price, back and forth, and pineapples don't have time to wait for you to
Yes.
decide
They
when to
go
sell
bad
or
very
not.
easy.
You can get involved in all sorts of conflicts. It will go bad.
Yes.
So we lost a whole cargo of about £20,000. What happened was that the even difficult bit about it is that you can't just go and throw the pineapple away in Agbogloshi or any of those dump sites that you could have done in Ghana. Uh, we had to pay for the disposal of the pineapple on a farm somewhere in deep Kent. It was such a, what do you call it, quite an interesting, but that year was quite stressful. So I was diagnosed with diabetes. I mean, I was just, I mean, waking up about 5 or 6 times a night to pee. And at the time, my mother-in-law, bless her soul, may she rest in peace, was staying with us, and she was like, "Dude, let me test this thing for you." And
Mm,
she tested it, and my figures were like off the
that's-
chain.
wow.
So I got diagnosed, and it's been a very serious battle of keeping my numbers around 5. My doctor calls me non-compliant, sweet tooth, stubborn. I enjoy a few drams of single malt and so on. So, but one of the things that we decided to do this year was to climb Kilimanjaro.
Mm.
So I've had to force myself back into exercise, and I'm doing all things. I mean, I can you believe it? I actually went to buy a yoga mat. I mean, come on.
you
That shows you how serious I'm taking this.
you're
So
going to do
I, I,
yoga.
I bought a bike. I started swimming. I've got a yoga mat. I'm being twisted around like a contortionist. Um, and what do you call? I had a personal trainer to put me through my paces. But
Wow.
the thing about the disease is how progressive it gets, and
Mm,
the impact it has on all sorts of faculties. But I am determined to hack it, my numbers back to 5. So the Kilimanjaro is the first thing we're doing, and we're documenting it to be my route to Kili, all the things that I've got to go through to be able to climb
mm,
and ascend. But the important thing I wanted to do was to link it to 2 courses
mm.
that I'm passionate about, which is education, and also get men to take diabetes and prostate cancer, what do you call it, seriously.
Mm.
So those are the causes. That, but for my passion for rural kids is I'm launching a campaign to get as many devices, digital devices, to rural kids
As possible.
as I can. So I'm using that Kili expedition as
That's a
started.
good
So
word. Wow.
um, I think these are my. I think you said 3, but I've thrown in.
You've thrown
I've
in a fourth
smuggled
one
in. I've
just
smuggled in
to
a fourth
appease
one.
me
Yes,
and the audience.
yes.
Wow. Wow. But talk to us more about climbing Kilimanjaro. First of all, kudos to you, because I'm
Yeah,
thinking about that mountain and already I'm tired just thinking
yeah.
about that. But how are you planning to do that? Well,
Okay,
how
so
did
you,
you even get
yeah.
to that decision to begin with?
It's one of those things that's always been on the bucket list.
Okay.
So you climb Afajatu in Ghana, you go and climb
So have you
Kilimanjaro.
climbed the
I'm
Fajatu?
not sure. I'm not sure I have the appetite for Everest, so it's okay. Kilimanjaro, we'll stop at
That's your last stop.
Kilimanjaro. Yes, yes, yes. But it was something that a group of us guys, we travel around Ghana. One of
Mm.
the things we did during the pandemic was, if we're not going to get us out of our borders, we will travel around Ghana. We did that about 4 or 5 times,
Wow.
and for that also helped me identify and understand the rural communities, especially schools.
Mm.
The kind of equipment we deploy ranges from anything from 15,000 to 30,000. Some of the schools, I won't even put, uh, what do you call it, a, a remote control in those buildings. I mean, they're,
Wow.
they're, they're falling apart, and they are the kinds of environments that fellow citizens also study in. It's
Absolutely.
the inequity in infrastructure as far as education is concerned is quite serious. So we've recently actually um, built a smart lab on a farm
Mm.
in a part of Ghana. So there's a story. A young guy, about 3 years, attempts to follow their mom to the farm. Mother wasn't aware. She had jumped on a motorbike. The kid gets lost. Is found 6 months later, burnt with a skeleton below a tree. So it's a 1,500-acre farm. So the owner of the farm decided to build a school on the farm to
Wow.
prevent the kids from wandering around. And I thought, okay, let's take it a step further and um, introduce technology there. So for the first time, kids that have never come across whatever, have access to technology to aid their learning. So it's something that I really want to do. I'm talking to various partners, World Bank, IFC, whoever will listen, Mastercard Foundation, and all those things to drive that agenda,
Mm.
to put to move this agenda forward.
Wow, that's a fantastic. Where is the school?
It's in a place called Nkoranza, not far from where Juliet comes from.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Juliet, that's your whole government. He just put it there. He just let all of us know where Juliet comes from.
Yeah,
Wow, wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
Thank you so much for just, coming on and sharing your stories with us.
Thank
Um,
you for having me.
for those of us who, are immigrants in a foreign country, I definitely understand that
Yeah,
commute story. I've
yeah,
said many, many times how at some point in my life, I legit told God to, just
yeah,
kill me
yeah,
today, kill me now,
yeah,
no
yeah,
more.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that was a long time coming to a point
yeah,
where you're able to drive a car on your own, and that's a whole other hustle.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Getting a license is even another
oh
wahala. Good for
gosh,
that.
who are you
In Ghana, you
talking?
just go and drive around Fadama Park and you got a license. You. I mean, I failed my test about 3 times. I mean,
Wow.
the third time, the test guy and those cars that they use, they've got a brake on their what you call it. So in Wood Green, I drive through. I drive through a pedestrian crossing. He didn't say anything. I did it the second time. And the third time, I was like, "How could you be that stupid? I failed you." Oh my
Let
goodness!
me
Yeah,
tell wow. The lady
yeah,
that got me when the first time, of course, I failed too, right? Because I was driving with a Ghana brain.
yeah.
And when I got in, you know how you have to say hello or whatever. I said hello. She said, "Don't greet me. I'm not your friend."
Wow.
Whoa. That and that threw me off. Oh
Yeah,
my good God. I failed
yeah,
instantly. We did
yeah.
not drive 2 minutes and she said, "Fuck, you're done." So
Yeah, those are mini terrorists. Yeah,
yes.
those
Wow. The
test
stories
people.
are so many that
Yes, too many stories.
yes. And
Yeah,
I got I love that you told us about the immigrant life without
yeah,
necessarily, going into because there's a lot of bad details there.
it is.
We've
It
had to
is.
go through some things, you
No,
know.
no, no. It's also some sort of a rite of passage.
Mm,
A rite of passage, and as terrible or horrible as some of those are, it's one of those things that it is what it is. You have to go through it.
yes.
I wish it could be a lot more pleasant,
It is not.
but yes, but I remember my father
Mm,
lent me £1,000
wow.
towards my fees. He was like, "No, I'm not going to give it to you. It's not for free. You have to pay me back." I think I've paid that £1,000 back about 100 or 200 times. What do you call it?
I
Yeah,
love
over the
it.
last how many years? But hey, it's one of those environments which I think if you go to a Ghana boarding school system, there's nowhere in the world that you won't survive.
Yes.
There is that. And you
Mm,
go through a UK, London, or immigrant experience. That's also another bonus.
mm,
Um, yeah, so
wow.
it is interesting.
Yes, very interesting. And we'll be praying for that Jamaican landlord. Hopefully, he's not doing that anymore because it
Yeah,
has
I
been
think it was
very
called
troublesome.
Winston or Trevor or one of
Very
those
interesting Jamaican
yeah
names.
names that yeah you know.
Um, Gloria says, nothing compared to getting a driver's license in Norway. It costs an arm and a foot. At
Yeah,
least the accident rates are on the low. So that's the consolation.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. I am so excited. You have such a very calming demeanor. And I like that you're able to speak about all the courses that you're in and
Mm,
wrap them around a story that
yeah,
kind of ties in. And guys, I want you to just find Richard on Facebook. Are you on Instagram? Because Instagram is for a certain group of people. Like
Yeah, I'm
I'm
on
not one of
Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter.
yes,
Twitter is like a minefield for me, so
me too.
I don't.
You don't play
But
too much
Facebook,
there,
I'm comfortable on Facebook. I'm slowly getting into Instagram.
right? And of
Yeah, but
course, LinkedIn.
oh,
Those
I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm on
Yes,
LinkedIn. Yeah,
those who want
yeah.
to, I guess, support the cause, especially the diabetes cause and the Mount Kilimanjaro expedition.
Yeah.
Please, 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 especially because it is tied to a cause, it's going to help a lot of young people who do not have access to,
Mm.
these things that we just take for granted here. Um, get some semblance of improvement in their lives, please find him. No amount is too small, right? $1, a
No,
thousand,
no,
one
no, no, no.
million.
Yeah, yeah. We will take that million check. Yes.
Yes, a
Interestingly,
million.
some rich dude in Ghana bought a 3 million Bugatti. Uh, yeah, for his 60th birthday. Yeah,
Ish, Ayaka.
yeah. They are not joking. No.
I want to be his friend, then, shoot, whoever he is.
Yeah. Guys, thank you very much for
Yes. Wow. Thank you.
for,
This has
for
been a very enlightening conversation.
yeah.
Thank you for telling us about coral reefs. We didn't even really get into that and how you got to even, form coral reef. I always add an S and I don't know why, but it's really
Yeah.
coral reef, not coral
Coral
reef.
reef, yes, coral reef. Let me do that for a minute or
Yes.
2 minutes.
Go
The
ahead.
coral reef, it's really a space. The metaphor is coral reef in the ocean, where
Mhm.
it's a space for light, for energy, nutrition, and so on. So that was a concept I picked up from my travels somewhere in Cape Town, and so we're coral reef for ideas, coral
Mhm.
reef for business models, coral reef for network, and so on.
Wow.
But yeah,
I
so
need you in my life.
yeah.
Wow.
So what? We were originally a business development
Mm.
agency, consulting, advisory, fundraising, and so on. But education has become our sweet spot. So we are
Mm.
digitizing schools across Ghana, private schools
Wow.
across Ghana.
Wow.
There are some people that are saying, okay, for my mother's 60th birthday, we want to donate a smart lab to a school.
Mhm.
And they're engaging us to do that. As there are some high net worth individuals that are supporting. So yeah, that's what we do.
What goes into a smart lab? When you
A
say
smart
it, I
lab.
think
So we
computers.
enter a
What
lab.
else?
Yeah, you enter a lab just like when we were kids, and we go into when you're students, you go into a biology lab or chemistry. A smart lab just has devices.
Mm.
So it's got tablets for the students. It's got a laptop for the teacher. The laptop has a learning management system and a classroom management system that the teacher can deploy learning. It can deploy assignments. It can even on the spot what we used to call objectives, objects
Mhm.
for the students. It's got a PowerPoint, a projector,
Mhm.
or a Promethean board, and a content access device point. The
Mm.
good thing about that content access device point is that if you don't have internet, you can load terabytes of data on there. So it
I
creates
was
a
about
local
to
area
ask
network.
that.
Yeah,
Mm.
a local area network, and anybody within a certain meter radius can pick the data from that.
Wow.
What else? It has a storage. It has a storage facility, which is it allows you to charge the devices. So you can load all the tablets in there, the content access points, the laptop in there, charges it, and then overnight, if there are updates, it does the update. For me, the key thing for me is always the teacher. The teacher is the core, the
Person.
central point of it.
Right. Right.
Yes, if we're talking about industry 4.0, it means you should have education 4.0. And a lot
Mm.
of our kids are not even at the starting line to
Wow.
even, yeah. I mean, people are talking AI, they are talking robotics, they are talking innovation, automation, UX, and my nephews and nieces in Fabrode Betumichok. For those that don't speak the language, it is a place where you use plantain to prevent a car from moving
From-
forward. Yeah, that's really my sweet spot, and I'm really enjoying it.
Wow. Wow, that is amazing. I have to make a confession. This is without a doubt this is a milestone onto my younger self where we have had a technical conversation. This is one of the most technical conversations I have ever had onto my younger
Wow.
self. It tells you the caliber of people that say yes to us without even blinking and coming on and sharing stories from all over the world. And that is what To My Younger Self is about, showing the world that we have all the resources in Africa. We have all the personnel in Africa, and we can do it if we put our minds to it. I love the fact that, Richard, I wanted to say opinion Kantanka, but I won't say that, even though I said it already. I love
That's my grandfather. I'm nowhere near opinion.
well, opinion just means big man, you know. But yes, I love the fact that he sat on a bus or however he was commuting at one point in his life and made up his mind to do something in the span of 3 hours after he read a book, which was for me, I believe, might have been his turning point to make something of himself, and he did. That alone. I am so grateful that you came and you shared your stories with us. This has been a very enlightening conversation. Um, let me see. Well, one of our producers is, I guess, agreeing with me because, we're filmmakers, so we're thinking story, and this is so technical, and we're just excited. And so if you're watching us from anywhere in the world, I think we just proved a point without a shadow of a doubt that Africans are a caliber of people that can do anything they put their minds to. And this is why we're here to share our stories. Richard, I am so grateful. I cannot wait to hear your podcast. I
Thank
think
you.
that it will be a class for me. I would have to come to it with a book and a pen so I can write out these things and then bother you later, ask you questions.
Right.
But
No problem.
guys, I wanted to ask Richard to sing for us a little, tune. We always put our guest on the spot. Since you made it stick
What am
when
I
you
going to
sing,
sing? What am I? Let me see.
yes.
What should I sing?
You can sing a Jama, you can, if you want to go the Christian route, and but I think I went
Yeah.
Jama this morning. Let's hype it up a little.
Okay. Now I'm trying to think of a song to sing.
I,
A song.
I,
A
I
song
wonder
that
when Wiki is. She would and go
is
ahead.
very okay. Oh, down baby, miss me down baby, oh, down
Um,
baby, oh, down baby.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
All
This
right,
has
guys.
been
Thank you
phenomenal.
very
Yes.
much.
Yes. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time. Hopefully, you've made up your mind to continue to talk to us after an hour. So we will definitely call on you again. He's going to be one of our returning storytellers somewhere down the line.
Right.
Next week, guys, we're going to have an amazing, phenomenal woman who had years and years in nursing. Again, talking about immigration, when you move from one country to another, she had to revamp her life and then found her calling. She has been on. She started building vending machines where she's legit vending women hair care products and facial products and all kinds of things. Amazing technological innovativeness, really. And now they're on a lot of bases in America, like military bases. It's like a very phenomenal story, and I want you to be here to hear it. Another thing that's going to be happening next week is we're going to have a couple of surprise giveaways. So we don't know how we're going to do it yet, but you have to be on time to catch it. You know what I mean? Yes. For those of you who live in America, you could even get a gift certificate to go to a spa. I don't know. It's a surprise. Okay. Right. So we'll see you next week when we talk with Diva Cindy, and it's going to be an amazing time as always. Just showcasing American African stories. What is wrong with me? I am hungry. So my name is Zoe Baraka, from myself over in New York, and of course Richard in Ghana. We want to say a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful enjoy your week. I didn't even get to acknowledge everyone that was here, but you all know I love you. So thank you for being here. And we want to say thank you and we love you. Okay? We will
Thank you.
see you next week. Stay tuned as we sign off.
Thank you. All the best.
All the best, guys.
Me up from Bana, Moko school, my bad.